I'm Bobby Furr, and we're sitting here together so we can talk about the happy things we feel about Trinity Baptist Church. I joined Trinity in 1981. I have been a member half of my life. I'm be 84 next month, and so I've really grown up at Trinity. Now, what I'd like to do is start over here with David and tell us your name and the year you joined Trinity Baptist Church.
My name is David York, and I joined twice. Our family moved up here from Florida, and we joined in the fall of 1973. And then when I got married, moved to Cary, moved my membership to First Baptist Cary with my wife, Pat, and then came back in 96, 97-ish. I don't recall the exact.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Steve Eason. I joined the church in 1973. Had just moved in the neighborhood, and the Buffaloes invited us to join, and one of the best things we ever done.
Good.
Frank Evans and Loretta and our two kids moved to Raleigh on Labor Day week of '73. We moved from Greenville, and at that time we all owned the couple that we knew in the church was Charles and Gloria Overton. They had been in our church in Greenville.
Wow.
I'm Ann Warren. My husband Bill and I joined the church in September of 1958. It was not in the city limits, and it was a country church.
And I'm Dorothy Petty. I joined with the charter in 1956.
I declare. Well, now, the ones that joined first, that would be Dot and David York and Ann Warren. Why did you join? What made you want to join? And some of you have kind of told me already, but I'd like to hear just those three people. Ann?
Well, we lived across the street. We lived in a house directly across the street. And at the time we moved here, we had lived in an apartment on Boylan Avenue and went to Boylan Heights Baptist Church. Well, there was no way we were going to drive all the way across town. As Dr. Walden said to us, he was the first pastor, he said, "I hate to see good Baptists pass one good Baptist church going to another good Baptist church."
Good.
Well, it was the beginning, and we lived in the neighborhood just down the road in Drury Hills area. And we thought, Marion and I both agreed that we should go to church in our neighborhood, and then being a brand new church just forming, we knew that the church would need our support. So that's why we became one of the pioneers.
That's wonderful. We're grateful for you, too. We really are. David, tell why you joined two times.
The time in '73 was when we moved up here and moved into a house in Eastgate. And I think this was the closest Baptist church to the house. And so our family visited and got to know the Pollards and joined shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I joined back in '96. We were in Cary, moved back to Raleigh, changed to a different church in Raleigh, and we missed the music. One of the gifts of Trinity is the music. And music starting at a little age, bringing all the kids into it. And the church we were at was a big church, but they didn't really have the music program for the little children, and we thought that was something our children were missing out on. And we were talking about it, and I said, we still always go back to Trinity for the Hanging of the Greens, because that's one of the best services of the year. And so we came back and started visiting and joined.
Good. David lived 2 doors down from me. I helped raise him, and now he lives in my backyard, and I don't hardly ever see him. Now, Frank and Steve, who were the major leaders of the church when y'all joined?
Ray Pollard was the pastor, and
Okay.
H.S. Yarborough was the music minister. And I cannot remember who the secretaries was that ran,
Yeah.
and of course, I always looked at Hugh Shaw and Bill Granberry, who were unofficial leaders, I reckon, and thoroughly enjoyed knowing them. They,
You know.
they always lifted you up, so.
Yeah, I remember Hugh Shaw. Now, he was in charge of everything. And after he got sick and couldn't come to church anymore, the very first Sunday after that, a commode got stopped up in the children's building, and I was walking through the church, and somebody said, "Bobby, could you come over here and unstop that commode?" And I said, "I'll be glad to do one commode, but I'm not going to be Hugh Shaw." That's how much he did. Frank, who were some of the people you remember?
Okay, was Don Hart. He was about, I believe in October was the beginning of the first couples class in Trinity, and he was the teacher of it. And we went into the class with him. Also, I remember Bill Early.
Yeah.
I remember the Pritchards. Also remember Bob Hawkins. As a matter of fact, Bob is one that really got me involved in several different things at church. He got me involved with the cooking for the men on Saturday mornings in the old kitchen in the old fellowship hall over there. And then when he got sick, I would go visit him, and one morning I went to visit him. He gave me all the stuff. He said, "Frank, I want you to take over for me." And that lasted for several years. And also, he was also a coach of one of the softball teams. And I was playing with him on that with young guys. And he did the same thing with that. He said, "Here's the bats and the bag of everything there. You take that too." And so he passed us a couple of things on to me and got me involved in 2 areas there.
You know, that's interesting that you talk about the personal relationships you had with him. For any of y'all, did you have a personal relationship with somebody in the church that was just extra special?
I would say with Bill and Sylvia Lee. We did a lot of things together, as well as the Harts and the Overtons.
Anybody else that you maybe went out on a Saturday night to the movies or whatever with?
Well, Bill and Ann's daughter and my first daughter, they were good friends, and we naturally become very good friends and have traveled together. And I don't think we got in any trouble with one another, did we?
Do what?
We didn't get in trouble with one another, did we?
Shush, you don't not supposed to.
But no, we've had a good time traveling together, and been to New York, Niagara Falls, places like that, and a lot of family outings.
How about you, David?
It's hard to think of just a few because rejoining when we did, I mean, I was very active in the youth when I was growing up here. But then rejoining, Pat and I got real involved, our children got real involved, and so our network of friends were also church members. And so we didn't have like some members may have, and that is a friend network outside the church. I mean, we have some, but for the most part, all our friends are here, so it'd be hard to narrow it down to a couple of two. There's so many.
Well, when you think about the church during all the years, sometimes there's some people that work behind the curtains that don't have a specific job at the church, but they do a lot of stuff that nobody even knows about. What name would come to you if I ask you, did you know somebody at the church that did a lot for the church, but nobody really knew?
Hugh Shaw.
And I think
Shaw.
Maud.
Yeah.
Maud too.
Okay.
But after Hugh retired, Maud told me one time that every day that Hugh got up, that he ate breakfast and got dressed, and said, I'm going to the church. And he would check all the air conditioning, all the lighting, all the everything.
Yeah.
Every day for 25 years, he came to the church and did maintenance. And someone was saying that it would probably have cost us $1 million over the 25 years.
Uh-huh. Do you think of any other people who've done a lot like that?
I think of Paul Brooks when he was our
Yeah.
custodian.
Yeah, I was thinking of him too.
He took over security when he took over custodian.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come up here every night for 8 years and walk this building. And if for some reason he was going to be out of town, he'd call Bill Warren. And Bill would come up here.
Bill would probably call Steve Easton.
And when they weren't available, he called me.
So
And he
y'all are
always-
some of those
He
people.
always wanted to pay me. I said, no, Paul, I'm gonna just do it because I think that's a service to the church. And
Yeah.
that you need your time away.
Well, then after he expired, there was a committee who did it. I remember Marion was on that committee and would come. He'd have a week, 2 or 3 times a year.
Can you think of anybody right now who works a lot behind the scenes? I tell you who I think about is H.L. Warren.
I was thinking
Yes.
of him too. And I think these guys here too.
Well, yes, they do. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't have to pay for. We don't, people are just good. But when H.L. Warren got sick, I told him we'd probably have to hire a new person at the church to do his jobs. Do you think of any others right now?
I know with all of our building programs and legal stuff and all of that, this guy sitting over here is taking care of a bunch of that for us.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but there are a lot of folks involved with
I think
with
of
all
Bill
the
and Fanny
building
Christian.
projects.
Bill Christian was who built the first educational building here, right?
No, Billy, the first education. No, we had a contractor, but Billy Christian and Gene Roberts were the two who were in charge of converting the school building
Oh
to
yeah, I
the
remember
sanctuary and the Sunday school rooms. They were and Doug Mims was very much involved. Carl Swiggett, names you probably don't even remember, but I remember something about when the school building. It was a little 4-room school building, and it was converted then to an auditorium and 2 classrooms on each side. And Billy Christian was a contractor, and he built the steeple for that little first sanctuary. Secretly built the steeple in his backyard, and then he and Gene Roberts, who was also a contractor and a charter member, installed that steeple. And you can see there's a picture out in the history hall that shows that steeple that Billy Christian built.
I was thinking Ollie Blake.
Yeah.
Ollie Blake.
Ollie Blake did a lot.
He used to
Yes.
drive the bus. He used to, as did Mr. Hawkins. I mean, he drove the bus
Yeah.
several trips I was on, and I got to see his dark side. But
We won't talk about that.
not that I didn't deserve it. But anyway, no, I joke. He was great. He had a heart for the youth. I mean, HL. I mean, some of the same folks that we've mentioned. But yeah, Ollie would, do whatever was needed up here, and he was a great servant.
Another guy that's in the latter years of Shannon Rice.
Right.
He has been very instrumental in a lot of things,
That's right.
particularly with the building association.
Yeah. I get kind of tickled the way they have the buildings A, B, C, D. I never do. I never do know when they say building B exactly what that is. But what is your favorite room in this whole building, and why? Did something happy happen to you in a building that you just think of it as your favorite room?
Sanctuary?
Okay, yeah, that's probably
For the choir practice, we
Yeah,
practicing that as
what-
well as.
Well, that's where my seat is, so
Yeah.
the choir's my favorite spot.
And I think of the chapel, which used to be our sanctuary,
Right.
that's where Shirley and Sherry and I were baptized.
Anybody else got a little favorite place that you like to be?
Well, they call it the underground now, but it was the old fellowship hall.
Fellowship Hall.
Yeah, it was.
And it was the old fellowship hall when
Yeah.
we joined, and then they converted it to the underground. Although while it was the fellowship hall, it was converted to, I forget what we called it. There was a youth thing every Friday night.
Yeah. Lighthouse.
Lighthouse. They called it the Lighthouse, and we would have some musical act would play, and it was a safe place for the youth to hang out when I was growing up in the youth group. And so when the fellowship hall, the new fellowship hall, it's what, 20, 30, 40 years old, I don't know. But when
Do you
it was-
remember when the chapel was much larger?
Yes.
Yes.
It would hold like 200 people.
That was-
And I remember the first funeral that was ever held there.
Do you remember whose funeral it was?
Yes, it was my son's.
Oh, I declare.
Now, Clarence Pritchard had died before my son did, but because Clarence Pritchard was known everywhere, Trinity was not the sanctuary was not large enough, so his funeral was held at his home church, Hayes Barton, where he not his home church, but where Clarence came from.
Right. You know, when I think about the chapel, I think about used to have Wednesday night things on
Yes.
in the chapel, and I always kind of liked that because you kind of sat close together, and
Business meetings.
yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about the Wednesday nights. Bill loved to play tennis, and he was in some kind of tennis tournament, and he told me, he said, I think I'll get there in time to start the Wednesday night service, but if I don't, just keep singing more songs until I can get there. And so I was playing the piano, and we sang about 3 songs with 5 verses each, so we could get there in time to do that. So I think of that almost every time I go down there in that chapel.
We're back to the chapel. One Sunday night, Bill and I came down for the offering, and just as I started praying, I looked and there was no plates. Harold West is sitting over, and I look at him and I look down at the plates. Finally, he catches on. I don't know who was praying, but it was a long prayer. But when we opened our eyes, there was plates there again.
You needed a long prayer for
We
that.
needed a long prayer.
Can you think of any other funny things like that have happened that you think about when you walk through that building?
Well, when we joined in September of '73, they had the old kitchen fellowship hall over there, and we would come to the suppers there. And our Sunday school class had a Valentine's banquet. Then the following, I've been in '74. And I don't know who it was, but talked Loretta and I into dressing up and singing, "Will You Be My Valentine?" And we've got a picture of that, me in short pants with a suspenders on, her with her crinolines under her dress and red and white. Was looking at it this weekend.
I remember that, Frank.
Yeah.
I was there.
I'd like to see that, Frank.
And then they wanted us to do it on Wednesday night. But HS didn't ask me to join the choir then, so I figured he didn't want. I didn't sing well enough.
You asking about funny stories. One of the funniest things to me was something that you said one time. You want me to tell it?
Go ahead.
The deacons were having a banquet or some kind of meeting, and the wives were invited, and you talked with the wives. And one of the things you said was, back when we were in Chadburn and other places, She said, I would entertain a lot. I would invite the deacons and their wives to my house. And you said, have I ever invited any of y'all? And we said, well, no. And you said, well, that's because I don't like to do it anymore.
I'll tell you the main reason I didn't do it. I didn't tell you the main reason. I invited people over, and my daddy built furniture, and he had, these chairs that have the seats that just make the straw stuff in and all that. And one of the deacons sat down in it and went right through it. So I decided I was going to quit inviting the deacons.
Tearing up your furniture.
Turn it up. Well, how do you think that our church has impacted this community, this North Hills that we talk about?
Well, the rock is the first thing pops in my mind.
Being a volunteer in the rock, I see a lot of people from outside of our church, and they are very thankful, and they always thank me for being there so that they can come. And they are aware that it is a church thing.
I've had several mention to me about, as I said, they're not members here, but they come over for exercise during the week. Their children and grandchildren play upward basketball, which is something we have here, so it really means a lot to the neighborhood.
Well, not only the rock, but I have known people in the community when we've had cantatas that will come for the cantata.
Well, I walk every day, almost in the rock, and most of the people that are in the rock are not members of the church. The people that are using it, and they love our church.
Some of them have offered to pay,
Yeah, they will. But they love our church. They think it's just the best thing in the world. I mean, and that has really been good for our church.
When they ask me, why don't we charge, we tell them it's something free that we want the community to feel that they are part of us at the same time, offered as a ministry. But I always say, too, if you want to give something, you can always send some money to the church office, and some do.
Dot, how many charter members were there?
90.
90.
Yeah. And we were really active for about 12 months before the charter. So we really started in 1955. But I don't know who made the decision that after 12 months and 90 members that we would be official. It started out around the corner from where I lived with someone's living room with just 8 people. And then it became 12 and 15 and 20. And then we had to find a place.
Well, when I think about the church, my first thought is what does that church do missions-wise? Because if it's just them taking care of each other and all that, that's not really the church for me. What do you think? What missions projects have you been involved in that the church is doing even now or in the past? Either one.
I remember when the Corn Island, and I think David, you went, didn't you?
No,
Oh,
I was
Too
one
young?
grade too young.
Too
My
young.
brother went, but I
Okay.
was one grade too young to make the
That was the
Corn
first
Island
mission
trip
First
project
mission.
that I remember.
that the youth went on.
Laura Young went on that trip.
Yes.
Wanda Moore, I think.
Yeah.
Charles
And
Oates.
Alton and Willadine Strickland were chaperones. And
The dollars.
Tell
yeah,
us,
Linda and Bruce Dollar.
Bruce did all the
tell us
planning for
which
it.
trip
Yeah.
you're talking about and where it was to and what you did or what they did.
This was in Corn Island, and it would have been in, 75, 76?
Laura was born in 1960, and I think they left on her 16th birthday.
It was the last,
76.
the last year
76.
that Ray and HS were here.
Right.
Were you
It
going
was
to help a
in-
new church or to, what was the purpose of the
I
trip?
don't remember exactly what it was, what the kids did there.
I don't
They-
remember either.
They went to several countries. They went to Costa Rica, they went to Nicaragua, and
Belize, they've been to a number. And then, of course, I did Kentucky for 12 years.
We did New
construction.
Mexico.
But a lot
Yeah.
of those,
New Mexico twice, Alaska one time.
it may have been a choir tour.
Okay,
From-
I think
okay.
it was to
They
the
made, they,
library.
I know that some of the first youth trips, it was a choir tour, and then they would throw sort of mission work in on the side, but
Okay.
it was primarily a evangelical, a choir tour.
Okay.
I know that the whole church, the Sunday school classes and everyone around helped raise money. Well, I know our Sunday school class did a pancake supper to raise money for
Right.
help them out.
Well, have any of you ever been on the trips where we take equipment and go help people that's houses have flooded or whatever?
Yeah, I've done that.
Yes.
We got the equipment
Yeah.
for that, and we
We
do it.
went to,
Bill went to New Orleans.
went
Yeah.
to New Orleans.
I went to New Orleans.
And we stayed in Metairie Church, just outside of New Orleans. And that was, while we were there, it was to tear out then. We didn't rebuild. And then when we went back to rebuilding, we went to Gulfport, Mississippi, and we made several trips there.
Yeah, the youth did a trip down to Gulfport because I chaperoned that.
Oh, you did? Well, I know Baptist Men on Missions is an organization that we've been with for a long time, and we go for things like that when they have troubles. And I have never been on one of those. Mostly it's men, but sometimes women go too, for different reasons. I wanted to talk to Ann a little, maybe. Tell us how we fit in with the Baptist State Convention. You were out there at the Baptist State Convention for a long time, weren't you, honey?
Just keep the money coming, you'll be in good. I think we're in good stead. We were. You know, I've been gone from there probably 20 years.
Right.
But I remember when I first started working there, I was working in the training union department. And my boss, who was Mr. Jimmy Morgan, who had been Minister of Education at First Baptist Church in Durham, and then he took over that job at the convention. And he said, where are you going to church? And I said, Trinity Baptist on Six Forks Road. He said, oh, that's Henry Walden's church. That's how he referred to it.
Okay.
And Dr. Walden at one time had been on the staff of the convention. He worked in, I think it was called Rural Church. But I think we're good with the convention.
Right.
Well, Barbara Bowen goes, she works there, Davis Bowen. Several people here, and the guy that I'm trying to think of, I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, we've had several people that want to be staff there.
Right. And the Baptist Foundation.
Yeah,
Clay Wolf.
yeah.
Clay is in our church and in our choir when he hadn't got to go somewhere for preaching
When
somewhere.
Right.
Kay Bissett in WU.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So we've had a lot of contact with both those Baptist agencies. Yeah. Yeah. I used to do their audit. I'll give you some
I remember
contact.
that. I remember that.
Foundation. They didn't want to see me coming. Oh, goodness. Well, if you right now could tell the church something that you'd like to see them do, what would that be? Maybe something new, or do something we used to do but we don't do anymore. Can you think of something that would be something you'd like to see the church do?
I would like to see us do local missions for the homeless, perhaps. Biscuits on Saturday morning, where we take them downtown or take them here and there, or whether we bring them here for food. I would like to see us do something for the homeless.
Okay.
Bobby's Sunday school class used to do that, didn't it?
We still do that.
You still do it?
We take
Okay.
biscuits
Down at
and
Moore Square.
at Moore Square. We do that. Still do it.
Okay.
But not enough of that is being done. That doesn't mean that.
I think I would really like for it to be a church project where we I don't know, visit the homeless, check on them, take blankets or hats or something, but have it as a program, as a project.
What about you, Ann? You could think of anything that would be especially appealing to you for our church to be doing?
I'm just happy. I mean, I've seen it come so far, and it has not always been smooth sailing, as Dot knows, but I think we're good right now, or at least my needs are being met.
Oh, great. And do you think we're meeting the needs of people in our community like we ought to, or can you think of something we could do for them?
Well, you know, the community with, 4 or 5 churches right here in a mile's radius, all of us ought to be doing something. I don't know that we are, but it should be.
Right. Personally doing something. How about you, Frank?
I'd say probably to answer some of what they're talking about there is North Raleigh Ministries. I think our church is supporting that very strong.
Right.
And not only with financially, but also through food. Each given, as we have it about each month. I know our Sunday school class, we just bought $300, almost $400 worth of food.
Yeah.
And carried up there.
Well, one of our offerings, is it after communion?
Yes.
If we take an offering that goes to North, and we started that program, didn't we?
Along with 5 other
Right,
churches.
yeah.
Okay.
We were part of the
Well, can you
charter
think of
church
something
group.
new that you'd like to see us do, Frank? We won't put you in charge of it. You can just say
I was just thinking.
That's why
I was thinking of Tom Dummock. Tom Dummock, he would ask about stuff, and if you told him something that you thought needed to be done, he said, "Well, I think you need to be the chairman of that."
it's something you want somebody else
Tom
to
was
do.
good for that.
But, yeah.
Can you think of
Tom
something
will do a lot of
that
stuff.
you might not can do, but you'd love to see done?
We got so involved with so many different things that was great. It really got the general population of the membership, I'll put it that way, involved in missions. And I thought that was one of the best things we did.
Yeah.
And if you want to know how much missions this church does, chair the missions steering committee. Because I've done that a few times. And so we have our hands in a lot of things that I couldn't even run off the list. There are opportunities, and we try to get all the different missions, advertised. We try to, let folks know where they can tap in, but there's a lot of opportunities in our church to tap in. We have a healthy missions budget, and so but I think that's one of the things we did in the past was Operation Inasmuch, which was a Herculean lift. It took a lot, but we would do a spring and we'd do a fall. And I don't know if it makes, with all the other things we're already doing, it gets harder and harder to do that, but sort of, especially as frequently. But I think it would be nice to have one of those, just to, I think, shine a light on all the different ministries or missions we're involved in and help the general population get back involved in that in the post-pandemic world. I think a lot of folks have disengaged because of the pandemic and are, I think, genuinely wanting to get back involved. We may just need to highlight some of those things.
I kind of remember those. You could go do different things. Different groups went to different houses or different places or whatever. And so it introduced people to a mission project that they might want to stick with, So that's interesting.
We would have around 300 or so.
Yes.
Well, I know we fixed breakfast for between 250 to 300 people.
We'd have about 300 people going out
Yeah.
to do missions projects 2 times a year, and a lot of those people stuck with whatever
Yeah.
they did.
And sometimes they do it with their Sunday school class.
Right.
And
Right,
so
yeah,
it was,
yeah.
it was a way to get to know other people in the church as
Right.
well. It wasn't always just with your class.
Well, kind of to pull this all together, I'd like if you can just think of a very short story. If it's funny, it would be even better. About your relationship with the church. Something that maybe has happened at church, or something that happened when you were on a project for the church. Or I'll tell you one that I had first. It just a little short story. When the Arab church first started meeting here, Bill had a wedding here for one of them, and of course people didn't speak English and we didn't speak whatever, and so when it came time for the bride to come down the aisle, the bride didn't come, and he kept saying, and finally he said to me, I was sitting in the audience, he said, "Bobby, would you go get the bride, please?" Every time I come to a wedding here, I think about the time I had to go get the bride. How about you, David?
Oh, man.
You think of anything funny that's happened at this church?
That I could repeat.
Oh, yeah, he was on that.
They had-
Or something, well, something that was special to you, maybe even if not funny.
About missions, and I had gone on I've been to Belize. I've been fortunate to go to Belize a few times on mission trips, and right now, the gentleman's name escapes me. Gee whiz. He used to go on all those foreign mission trips for construction trips, and then they moved to Tennessee or something, or Georgia.
Yeah.
Is it one that used to work for Jim Golston?
Not Steve Isaacs.
No.
Just make up a
He's
name,
still
they'll
here.
never know the difference.
Anyway, anybody watching this is going to say, so-and-so. And so I can't remember, but gosh, he would always do devotions every morning before we'd start our construction. And you usually got in a bus or some type of vehicle, and you would travel from wherever you were spending the night to the work site. And I can remember him asking me, because we were on all the roads looked the same in Belize, and so I saw something that reminded me of a vacation my wife and kids had gone on, and we went river rafting through caves, cave rafting, and we had our one guide, and he took us into this cave that was very dark. He said, "Turn off your lights." And so we had all these lights on our forehead. We turned off all the lights, and you couldn't see anything. But all you could do was hear the guide's voice. And you stayed with that voice as you drifted through the cave. And I just told that story. I said it was really neat. The kids had a great time. Well, we get to the work site, and it's time for the devotion. And he says, David was telling me about this cave rafting trip he had, and he retold my story, and he said, that reminds me of Jesus. Here we are, sometimes we just have to close our eyes and listen for that voice we recognize, because we all knew our God's voice by then, and follow and put chills, and I thought, man, that'll preach, And so that story has always stood out on how just the lay people of this church have that gift to take just a common story and witness on it.
Thank you. Steve, what about you?
I was thinking of one of the mission trips that we went on. We went to Jeff's church in Iota, Tennessee, and they sent us over to the underground sea, and sort of like David, we get on the boats and all of that. But while we're in there, we're walking down, and we stop, and I walk to the front of the line and start counting back. Well, I'm number 11. I said, phew. And you said, what is it? I said, nothing. They kept running. I said, well, they do cave diving down here. I said, and it's only the first 10. And Next thing you know, I'm the first man in line. Wish there was no cave diving. But it was like David said, they turned the light out, and I mean, it's pitch black, nothing. But it was just funny, all the kids that got behind me.
I love it. Frank?
A funny thing that comes to my mind is when we went to Albuquerque, New Mexico to work on the building there.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of young guys with us. One of them was David Askew.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And he and I was, and Loretta, there was always sort of something going on between them. And so when we went to bed that night, Loretta felt something under a pillow and looked, and there was a biscuit underneath there. And I says, I guarantee you David put that under the pillow. She said, well, I'm going to get him tonight. And so when we got ready to go to bed, everybody had already, well, before they came in, she went to their room, was right next to ours, and took some jelly stuff and put on his doorknob. So you could go in, but you couldn't come back out. And the next morning, when he got ready to go out, all he could do was all this jelly on there. And he knew who it was too. But it's fun to be with people who like to have fun.
Well, but one of mine is what I told about you. And on that very same trip that he's talking about, on the plane ride, he was sitting at the very back, and all the rest of us were up at the front. And we said, David, why are you sitting back there? He said, never heard of a plane going down tail first. I never forgot that.
Now, since she mentioned the plane coming back that night, on Saturday night,
Yeah.
we had emergency landing in Tennessee. Somebody, they thought they smelled something burning or something in the plane. And so they set us down in
Bristol,
Tennessee. And of course, they put us out on the middle of the airport, went down the stairs, and the bus came out, picked us up, and carried us to the airport. And so we went there, and they couldn't, everything was closed down. But the police brought us pizzas to eat because nobody could go in and out, and they brought pizzas for us to eat for supper that night. But another funny thing about it, one of the guys was asleep, and he thought that we were landing in Raleigh, and so he called his daddy to come pick him up at the airport before he realized that he was still in Tennessee. That was John D'Onofrio.
Oh, do you remember? I think I remember that David Crabtree was.
Yes,
was that
on the same plane.
Yeah, in the airport.
I remember that. But the pizza, I remember, they just brought one pizza and we could only have one slice, and we hadn't eaten for 12 hours. So,
But everybody made fun out of it. We had to wait for them to bring another plane from Baltimore or somewhere. We got back into RDU about 4 o'clock Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But we set our suitcases up and we used to play games, card games and domino games on.
Can you think of something special, Doc?
something that I remember early on when John Stone was the pastor. John was also a fisherman. He and Shelton Pritchard went fishing every chance they got. And on Wednesday, John went to Carr Lake to fish, and it was time for Wednesday night prayer meeting, and John wasn't there, and Shelton kept playing the piano, and we kept waiting, and about 30 minutes, John came running in, and he had a bass about that long. He said that bass was biting, and God told me to pull him in.
Well, this has been fun, and I really appreciate your stories. And you know what I'd like to end this with? I'd like for all of us say together, Dear Lord, thank you for Trinity Baptist Church.
Dear Lord.
Dear Lord, thank you for Trinity Baptist Church.
Amen.
Amen.